right, welcome to another episode of the Sports Junkies. Hey, you know what, guys? It's football season. This is such a great time of year. I should mention, by the way, that I'm Tommy B, along with Ben Baker and David Freeze. We're here on Santa Cruz Community Television, ready to talk some great sports. And guys, I mean, we got the baseball pennant races. You know, usually hockey be starting right about now, but there's a lockout. But usually, you know, you got college football. You got basketball starting up pretty soon. And, of course, today's topic, the National Football League. Yep. We are, as we speak, we are in what will become Week 4. We are taping on the Saturday before Week 4 starts, so we played 3 games. We are through Week 3 of the National Football season. We're going to do kind of an NFL first part of the season. We're already, you know, the first 3 games are done. We're going to do a kind of NFL preview. It's going to be a bit of a free, we're going to be doing it a little differently this time, where we're going to all make our playoff picks first, and then we'll all discuss each other's picks. That's what we're going to do for this show, so we're going to have a lot of fun. But first, let me ask you guys something. First 3 weeks, we had something a little unusual in the NFL called replacement refs.
That's right.
Yes, and obviously they affected a lot of games. Mm-hmm. Do you see, Ben, let me go to you on this one first. Do you see this affecting, even though it was only the first 3 games, possible playoff positions when we head towards the postseason?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Packers are a team that's probably going to contend, and I think the Seahawks have a pretty good chance of contending as well this year. And so, of course, everybody pointing out that game as the last game that was played with the replacement refs.
And let me say, to point this out, not to take anything away from the Seahawks, because they played a very good game. Mm-hmm. That game, to be even in that position where the refs could blow it and give them the win.
Sure.
They played, I mean, did they sack Rodgers like 8 times?
I don't remember the exact
number. It was like 8
number,
times. Yeah, they played, especially the defense, played an excellent ball game in that game against the Packers.
That's a solid team this year.
It is.
Don't discredit the Seahawks. I think, you're right. They deserve, to be shown as a team that could stick with the Packers.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right, so Dave, do you think this will, the first 3 weeks with the replacement refs and the decisions they made affecting the playoff races?
Well, you know, I think that the referees, watching the games, I didn't feel like they were that as bad as they were being portrayed, but it was just going over the top when you have coaches running and at the point of physically grabbing them. And then I think one of the Raiders coach, Dennis Allen, was in their hallway. I think it was, I don't know if it was halftime or after the game. The referees were coming into the locker room, and he was literally standing there looking at all of them. I mean, it was kind of a weird, it was just going over the top. And I think the point is that the coaches didn't respect these replacements. And then the players were doing all these extra hits after hits, and who knows what other bad situations where the real referees would cut it down. So they weren't being respected. And I think it was appropriate that, okay, now Goodell, let's just get this squared up, get the negotiations going, and get the real referees, just for some peace between the coaching and just a balance of respect.
Well, honestly, I think those players and coaches, they need to be punished for behaving like that.
Yeah, replacement refs are not.
That's what bothered me more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I think we could all see it was the right time.
It's equivalent to students in a classroom at a middle school where a substitute teacher comes in for the first 2 weeks of the semester.
Drop your books.
Yeah. And they don't give up. They turn a blind eye. They don't.
Paper balls.
They go crazy. Then then suddenly the real teacher comes in and it's silent. So I guess even in the NFL,
I thought we had a ruler fight when
even in the NFL,
it's similar. It turned ugly.
That sounds like it was.
Those things have sharp edges.
Yeah, especially with your, Ben, I'm not sure if you had it then, but you have a competitive streak. We all do, but you really have a competitive streak.
Well, I didn't want to hurt this beautiful face, so, I was hiding under tables.
Oh, okay. So you didn't go all out.
Competition to save my career.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Those are the days. Yeah, substitute mania. But, yeah, I think what could happen is, obviously, if the Packers lose by 1 game out of a playoff spot, and the Seahawks win by, let's say they beat the Niners out for a playoff spot for 1 game. San Francisco, people in San Francisco, people in Green Bay, people in Seattle, all have the potential to be really ticked off, if there's a 1-game difference at the end of the season. So, I think it did affect, but I think what we also might see is it even things out, and it makes a little more parity because no one would have expected the Packers to beat the Seahawks. But again, they played really well. There aren't a lot of, usually going into week 4, there's about, 4 or 5 teams still undefeated. There's only like 2 or 3 this year. We have a lot of 2-1, 1-2s, a couple of 0-3s, and a couple of 3-0s. So it's a lot of, it's more. It seems like it's a little more even this year. I don't know if that's because of the replacement refs, but so far it seems like things are a little more even on the playing field right now.
You think they were rooting for the underdogs? The refs?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we had
Something
that
in
one.
common?
Remember, we had that one ref. We had that one ref who was pulled from a game after his Facebook page showed he was a Saints fan.
That's right.
That was another sign right there that it's time to bring the regulars back.
He might have been able to help. The Saints are 0-3.
Yeah.
They could have used him, right?
They need the help right now.
Well, he wouldn't have been rooting for the underdog.
That's an opening season surprise.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get to the action on the field here.
All right.
Let's make our playoff, as fun as this is. Let's go to the action on the field. We're going to make our playoff picks. You guys want to do, we make all 12 picks or do NFC, AFC? What do you think?
AFC, NFC, I would say.
All right, well, let's start with the AFC, and we'll go over to David Frias.
So as far as my AFC picks for each division, as far as the AFC West, I think the Broncos, they're off to a little slow start right now. I think Peyton Manning's getting used to the action again. Even the best, take a while to adjust. But I think he'll get going, the offense will click, and I see them winning the AFC West division. In the AFC Central, I see the Texans. They're off to a great start. I think, just last year they were happy to finally make the playoffs, and I think they're looking for more. And I think they'll dominate their conference, their division.
South.
Well, the South. I'm sorry, the South division.
We were talking baseball.
Central, South. Yeah, that is different. Thanks for correcting me there.
Only Texans, the only AFC team left that's undefeated.
Yeah, so I'll pick the Texans to win the South. And then in the AFC East, correct? In the AFC East.
Well, don't forget the North.
Let him go in whatever order he wants to go. No, I'm just kidding, Vanna. Go ahead.
Trying to help.
And then I see in the AFC East, I see the Patriots. They're off to a slow start right now, but I think they're just too good. With the coaching, Belichick, he's got a coolest temper again.
Yeah.
But I think they got enough firepower as long as Brady doesn't get hurt. I think the season. Tom Brady stays healthy, plays all 16 games. I think the Patriots.
And the kicker needs to make his kicks against teams like the Cardinals
should take the AFC East, and then in the AFC North, I think Baltimore's to lose. I think they have most of their veteran players, and this is really their last stand, I believe. I think the defense, and then Flacco. Before the season started, sometimes in the offseason, someone asked him a question who he thought was the best quarterback, and he feels like he's the best quarterback in the NFL now. So he's got a lot of confidence, and I think he still has a lot to prove. He nearly led him to the Super Bowl. It wasn't for the kicker, and then the worst of the missed catch by Reed from last year. But I think Flacco's going to have a great year again, so I think the Ravens will take the AFC.
Hey, let me ask you something. What would you expect a quarterback to say when asked to see who's the best quarterback?
There's a lot of. I
am trying to be a wise guy, but I'm also.
Maybe you are.
I'm also. Do you think one of them, like a competitive guy in the NFL, wouldn't? Well, it's not me. It's probably that guy. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's very. I think most quarterbacks they look at who's the best out there.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time they'll say, like in the past, Tom Brady, he's at the class. I'm looking to be as good as him. But but for I guess the critics and critics and the experts, they don't put Flacco as the best quarterback in the NFL. So he's kind of saying, I'm ready to be the best, and he's declaring like I'm the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if that's true though. I mean, there's a lot of great quarterbacks out there. But he wants to be there. He wants to reach for the best. That's his statement.
Well, Ben, do you think? I mean, you're a big fantasy football guy. Is Flacco usually one of the top quarterbacks taken?
Well, I think the thing is, they're not a team that's geared towards a pass offense. They've got one of the best running backs in Ray Rice, and they have for a long time had one of the very best defenses.
They had McGahee too. They had Willis McGahee for a while before Rice. Yeah.
And when you've got a shutdown defense like they do, it doesn't make sense to pass in the second half. So naturally, he's not going to put up numbers like these guys. So while Flacco has a point that maybe he is one of the best, he hasn't had a chance to put up those kind of numbers.
Right.
And it's kind of weird. It almost makes you reevaluate. are there guys out there that aren't considered the best quarterbacks, of all time that have had situations like the Ravens where they didn't need a quarterback to be throwing the ball all the time?
Okay, Dave, did you do your wild cards?
Yeah, my 3 wild card teams, it's going to be the San Diego Chargers. I think with the offense, I think they'll take it. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're gonna they lost to the Raiders early on, but I think they'll pull it off, and I think they'll be the other wild card team. Yeah. And then my 3rd team is going to be just 2, right?
Yeah, there's just 2. Yeah, there's 4 division winners and 2 wild cards.
All right, I'm set then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. Just in case, who's your other team that you think you can make a run?
I was gonna say maybe the Bengals.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. Yeah.
But I'm sticking with the 2 Chargers and Steelers.
Okay, this is the part where we get to ask Dave if we want to anything about his picks. Ben, do you want to?
So, why do you think the Broncos over the Chargers? My pick's going to be the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Mine as well.
And I think the Broncos, you've got Peyton Manning, surely one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but it's his first year in a new system. Do you think he'll be able to acclimate in time for them to make a playoff run?
I think they will. I think right now they're struggling a little bit, but once their offense gets going, I think the Broncos they're going to be. I think they'll be at times unstoppable. They'll probably win a lot of their home games, and they'll probably struggle a little bit on the road. But I still think that I think Peyton Manning has a lot to prove. And I think the Chargers, they, for the most part, I think they're not as talented as they were in the past, and they're still relying on Phillip Rivers. And then in the running back game, I think with Matthews, it's kind of like he's not as dominant as. It's hard.
He's not LT.
Yeah, it's hard to compare to LT, right? But then Rivers as well, he's had his moments as well where he struggled, losing to the Falcons at home. They got blown out. And then the Broncos also lost to the Falcons early on in the season. But I think it's just I'm still thinking that the Broncos once they gel, Peyton Manning alone could carry them to the AFC West.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to ask about the Broncos pick too, because Ben mentioned Peyton Manning. My question, I think Rivers right now, to me, you're right. He does struggle sometimes, and And Manning is one of the best, but I think what we're seeing here is everyone, and I gotta wonder if Manning is at the end, because he showed in that preseason game against the Niners, obviously, that he can still put up numbers when he gets a chance, but that was preseason. He doesn't have much of an arm anymore, and this is a guy. This is the kind of thing where he gets hurt. One more bad hit, he's done. It's probably, he had a really bad surgery last year. He had a neck injury. That's the kind of thing where one more bad hit, his career's over. So I think if Peyton Manning got this, if Manning stays healthy, it can definitely be big for the Broncos. I'm just not sure he can stay healthy the whole year.
But last year the Broncos, they had Tebow, right?
Right.
He's not even much of a passer. He was just running the ball. And the Broncos still won the AFC West, and I'm just saying, as long as Peyton Manning's healthy, I think they'll have a better record than last year, and I think that's going to be enough to win the AFC West.
What did they win the division? 8-8 last year.
It's like 9-7, I think.
They might have got 9. I'm not totally sure.
No, I think they were
one of those. It might have been 8-8.
But I agree with you, Dave, that if he stays healthy, I just don't trust him to stay healthy at this point.
Okay, that's you. Okay.
Yeah, that's just my question.
I think personally. You're pulling out two situations with Manning, one being the huge injury that he had, and another one was really just a bad half. And I watched that game where he threw, I think, 3 interceptions in the first half, and it was very uncharacteristic. It was one that just looked like it totally slipped out of his hands. I think there's still a little miscommunication going on, and I really think that, really defending Dave's point here, it's Peyton Manning's first year with, actually I think they acclimated to his system or something. But
I think the running game is going to be better than San Diego's.
Yeah, quite possibly. I like Matthews once he comes back.
Yeah.
But I think he just had one bad half. I think there's gonna be a little while where they have to kind of get used to working together. I think it's actually pretty common especially when you bring in a really a big star onto a new team. They all kind of have to get used to each other. A lot of times they don't mesh right off the bat.
True.
And I think just because Manning had one big injury doesn't mean that he's got a real long history of injury troubles. He really doesn't. But I think they're going to be all right.
All right, but you're still picking the Chargers.
Yeah. Should we get into my picks?
Yes,
here?
let's.
I like the Chargers. Sorry, Raiders fans. I just think that, this is a team that's been waiting to come together. Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates should be, a quarterback to, in this case, tight end combination that will be remembered. They're both just top of their game. Rivers needs this next step to be considered an elite quarterback. He's been considered a really, really good quarterback for a number of years.
But not quite elite.
But he needs to lead a playoff run here. And I think Matthews is coming into his own. If he can stay healthy, that's a big key right there. If he gets hurt, I'm not sure who they're throwing in at running back. But they're going to want Matthews. They've got a good defense. Malcolm Floyd's an emerging receiver. I believe they brought in Marcus Colston. He's another good receiver who also could use a little more credit to his name after being just one of many receivers that the Saints used. So I like the Chargers in the West. In the South, I like the Texans. Everybody's saying it's the Texans' year, at least to go to the playoffs, if not the Super Bowl. And I have to agree. Schaub's been moving forward for a while now. I think even if he just kind of holds his own as a really good quarterback, the rest of the team should help him out. AFC North also seems kind of obvious that the Ravens should be the team there. They just have...
Never obvious in the NFL.
Well, but it's not going to be the Browns, right? They're already 0-4. It's probably not going to be the Bengals because, come on, who's better right now? The Ravens or the Bengals? It's going to be the Ravens.
No, I'm just kidding.
And then, the Steelers have been right there with them for a while, but I think we can all admit that a lot of guys in the Steelers are just not quite having their prime years right now. Maybe Mike Wallace.
Well, again, it's only after 3 weeks, but still, you got a point.
Yeah.
Getting a little older.
And then the AFC East.
We said about the Phillies.
I like the Patriots. They're looking a little bit maybe flawed or vulnerable right now. They're 1-2, but I definitely like them over the Jets, and I like them over the Bills. If I can get into it really quick, the wild card.
Yeah.
The Bills are going to be my wild card team, which is kind of my surprise out of all of them. To me, it's either I think it's the Bills or the Steelers as that last pick, and then my other wild card team is going to be the Broncos because I really do think that by the end of the year they're all going to pull it together. I expect the Broncos to have something like a 5-3, if not 6-2 or better second half. I really think they can pull it all together. And then the Bills with that two-headed running back team, if they can stay healthy, of C.J. Spiller, who right now is the top running back in all of the NFL, and Fred Jackson when he comes back,
right,
along with just, Fitzpatrick's coming in, playing well. He's still their quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And a receiving core that's been doing well and a defense that's been performing well. I think the Bills, this could be their year to emerge.
The only thing I was going to say there, and we got to switch to the NFC in a minute, but what I was going to say, Ben, is that you were mentioning the Jets, and Revis is now out for the year. So that's a big hit. Yeah, that is a big hit for the Jets on their defense.
Yeah.
And that is why I also did not pick the Jets to go to the playoffs. I was going to pick them as well, but when Revis went out for the year, I thought that might be too. That's a huge hit right there.
I just don't also know about that leadership there with Sanchez. He's just, he's got talent, but he hasn't proven time and again.
They're switching that right with Tebow and Sanchez. They don't have one guy right now. They're switching back and forth. They don't have the guy.
Sanchez.
We'll see if Tebow can do for them what he did for the Broncos.
That's true.
But there's a lot of questions.
How much Tebowing will we see on ESPN this year? That's the question. All right, my picks.
Not enough.
Yeah, right. Before we switch to the NFC, AFC East, Patriots. I'm going with the Ravens in the North, the Texans in the South. Agree with you with the Chargers in the West, and my wild cards are the Steelers and the Bills.
You're also agreeing with me on the Bills.
I'm going with the Bills. The Steelers and the Bills as my wild cards.
I definitely could see the
Steelers
Steelers
we don't have time for questions, but my question would be why you guys feel the Bills this is their year or something?
Ben, take it away.
I think it's the running game first and foremost. No one before this year was saying C.J. Spiller, #1 running back in the NFL, but they're doing something right. And then Fred Jackson already was a top running back.
They got some weapons for sure on the offense.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's switch over to the NFC, where our beloved San Francisco 49ers play. And why don't we start with Ben? Ben Baker, NFC playoff picks.
All right, my playoff picks here for the NFC, which I think are not quite as obvious as some of the other ones. Well, I like the 49ers in the NFC West. They had a bad week just last week against the Vikings, but I think they're still one of the top teams. I like the Falcons in the South. They're 3-0 right now. You know, the Saints, 0-3, we'll see. The NFC North, Packers, you know, they might be 1-2, but they're still the Packers.
Right.
You know, was the Super Bowl last year?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The
Short-term
Giants.
memory. The Giants, the year before.
Yeah.
The year before, okay. Sorry. And then the NFC East.
Okay,
Why
time
not?
flies.
Why not the Redskins? I'm taking the Redskins. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to go back.
We only have like 4 minutes.
Okay. I'm taking the Giants in the NFC East. I still think they're a pretty strong team. And then
Take two.
the Eagles are my wild card team there. Okay, so West, Niners, South, Falcons, North, Packers, East, Giants. My first wild card is going to be the Eagles. My second wild card, boy, you know, it could be any of those teams in the East. But I'm actually going to say the Lions. I think they've got a top defense, and then Stafford to Megatron. Can't go wrong, right? But
Watch the Transformers.
don't count the Saints out yet. They're still a fantastic team, just off to a few bad games.
You know what? I agree with you, which is why I picked the Saints as one of my playoff teams. They are 0-3, but they still got Drew Brees. You know, they say, yeah, everyone's talking. The thing is, the story, the Saints need to win a game so that the story will stop being, can the Saints win without Sean Payton? Okay, they need to prove that they can win a game without Sean Payton. Once they do that, they can get on a roll.
Or a bounty, for that matter.
Or a bounty. Thank you. All right, my NFC South pick is the Falcons. I'm going with their defense looks great too, as well as having an MVP candidate in Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Offense looks really good.
Great.
49ers in the West, although they are going to be tested, they got a much tougher schedule this year than they did last year, including going to New England, going to the Saints, and playing the Giants as well. In the East, I'm going to say the Giants. They did lose some weapons with Manningham and Jacobs leaving for the Niners. But they still got Eli Manning. They still got Ahmad Bradshaw, Victor Cruz, Akeem Nicks, and they still got a scary defensive line. NFC North, I'm going to say the Packers. And my wild card teams will be the Saints and the Bears. The Bears have a good defense. If
Bears.
If Cutler doesn't throw too many interceptions, I think they can win enough games to get in the playoffs.
He's going to throw too many interceptions.
Yeah, probably. Probably. I have him on my fantasy team, so he probably will. Go ahead.
My teams for the NFC on the West, I think the Niners. I think they won't have the great record as last year, but I think they'll be good enough to pull it off in the West. My team in the South. I think the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they could have the best record. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up having the best record in the NFC. In the East, NFC East, I think the Giants. I think the Eagles. They're just a mess. I mean, it's just going to be. They're going to be so inconsistent. When they should be the favorites to win the NFC East, but I think the Giants. They're the more consistent team. NFC North. I think the Packers. I think they should be the best for that division. And my two wildcard teams, I'm going to pick the Lions based on their offense. And their defense is going to be suspect, but I think they should be able to make it. And then the Cardinals.
Wow.
If you look at the start of the season and then from last year, they've won 8 in a row. Wow. And I think they'll be the super surprise team.
Very nice.
So don't be surprised if it's the Cardinals. They'll be in the other wild cards team.
Well, it will be a surprise, but I think it's definitely possible. I mean, anytime you're a team that's not expected to do much, and then you play the way they did against the Patriots, even though the Patriots should have won that game, the kicker doesn't miss the kick, and the guy doesn't get the holding call. Their tight end got called for holding.
They got a lot of confidence, though.
But the Cardinals have confidence. They beat a good team. You're right. The Cardinals could definitely, especially in the NFC West, make some noise.
Even their defense is doing good.
All right, you know what? I wish we had more time to analyze these NFC picks, but we're running out of time here. Great football discussion, you guys. I think like I said, Niners are going to be tested, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in future shows. It's going to be a fun NFL season.
Sure.
I will say I think the Seahawks have a chance, too.
You know what? Right now, I think that NFC West, wide open. I mean, there's the Niners.
I don't give the Rams much of a chance.
Maybe not the Rams. Okay, fine. The first 3 teams, you're right. Niners, Cardinals, Seahawks. It's going to be a battle.
You put Bradford on a different team, though.
There you go. Hey, and Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
All right, hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Santa Cruz Community Television, the Sports Junkies.
Just like last show.
Yeah, I know. That was good.
Good show. Good show.
So much to talk about. Go for an hour again.
Yeah, what?
We go for an hour again on this.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
No, that was good. And I liked it.